So good morning, everybody. It looks like the entering the meeting has slowed down a little bit. So yeah, if you could fill in the poll, just seeing, I'm glad to see some numbers of fantastic. Couldn't have gone more smooth because it was at 0 for a very long time. But hope you're all doing well, and we're almost through fiscal year end. We have a good meeting. I'm going to try to multitask here. Garrett, I'm going to go ahead and just get you started. Is going to come and talk to us primarily about other support documents. Garrett, I'm not sure if you have a PowerPoint you want to share. I just shared the results. So mostly it looks like things are going well with fiscal year end. So that's really good. And let me stop sharing so you can share, Garrett.
Make sure I'm sharing the right one here. Does everybody see the RAIN meeting slide?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, yeah, so what I wanted to talk about are really three things. I wanted to go a little bit over the ERA submission systems. I know this wasn't on the agenda, but I thought it really might be a good thing to cover, if you don't mind. There's been some questions lately, and I know that we have a whole bunch of new faces in our research administration team. So, and then I also wanted to talk a little bit about the changes that are upcoming for the other support in the BioSketch. Got a couple slides about that. And then just some questions real quick on the form stack process, because that's a continually evolving thing that we deal with. So let me just go through here. So, somebody have a question? Okay. Can everybody see my slides okay? Thumbs up. Okay. All right, so really quickly, I just want to make something kind of clear to folks. And why is that on there? That's weird. Whatever. There are three systems that we deal with when we submit a proposal. And the first one is InfoEd. Now, I want to make something super clear. This is actually an on-premise system that we all fill in our data and everything like that. That submits over to grants.gov via an XML file. And then from grants.gov, it goes over to EraCommons. Now, the reason I want to talk to you about this for a minute is when you're submitting your applications, or when you're allowing OGC to submit, what we're doing is we're going into InfoEd here, and we're taking that XML file and we're sending it over to the grants.gov servers, which then go over to EraCommons. So once that submission process is done, we receive the communication back from grants.gov, and we get a grants.gov tracking number, which I send out to you guys. So after that's done, we then take the proposal and change the status history from grant pending to submitted to sponsor. So that matters because there's been some questions lately about, hey, I want to withdraw my proposal, or I want to change my proposal. Changing it, or just when you send an email over to EAP and say, hey, can you change this? All we're really going to do is we're going to go into InfoEd and we're going to set that proposal to grant pending. That allows you to edit it, and then we resubmit it through the exact same process, grants.gov to EraCommons. It's a straightforward change, and it's a super simple change. And the majority of the time, that's what people are asking us to do, is make a correction in the actual proposal. They've looked at it in the EraCommons, and the PI realizes that there's a period out of place or something very particular, not a big demonstrative change. That's what we're going to do, is we're going to go in and send it to grants pending and go on. But there is another way to go about this. And you can go in 2 days before the proposal is taken from EraCommons and moves over to the CSR, the Center for Scientific Review. During that 2-day window, within EraCommons, I can go in and select reject on that application. Now, the reason we generally don't do that is because that means that no proposal will be ever moved forward. And I've had some people submit requests to reject an application. And I pushed back and said, hey, you know, are you talking about rejecting it, or do you just want to make corrections? And so sometimes they actually do want to reject it. And I'll talk to you about a time when you actually would want to reject it versus just making the corrections. So within that 2-day window, you could reject it at any point. Now, here's the thing. Whenever it goes forward for that 2-day window, you then, when it goes forward from the 2-day window, it goes forward to the CSR, and then it is then reviewable. To withdraw it at that point, we have to submit a prior approval and to request the withdrawal. So the only reason why you would want to do a reject application here is, let's say, for example, you've gone in and your PI is super ahead of time, gone in and submitted the proposals. Let's say you have 5 days till the actual due date, right? So that 2-day window is going to close before the actual proposal is going. If you needed more than 2 days to make a correction or something like that, that's when you would go in. Oh, you guys following me?
Yeah, Gary,
that's when you,
for a second, maybe just want to cover that part about the rejection again.
Okay. Yeah, so if you have more than 2 days before, before the proposal deadline, let's say today's the 15th, let's say it's due on the 20th, right? And you submit your proposal today, and the PI wants to make changes, but they're going to need more than 2 days to make that change. You can make the decision at that point to reject it out of the EraCommons, and knowing that no proposal is going to go forward, so that one does not move forward past the CSR. That's really the only reason why you would want to reject an application out of EraCommons, is that if you needed more than that 2-day window. Because after the 2-day window, you're really going to get into this prior approval. And that's not a big deal. It just takes an extra step, and I'm going to double check to make sure we're talking about the same thing, because this is a bigger deal. So this is after the 2-day window that it sits with EraCommons. You can request withdrawal there. So again, when you're submitting it and you just want to make corrections to the proposal, that's when you're going to be doing we're going to be setting it into the corrections mode. If it's well before the deadline and your PI just said, no, I need a couple days to do this, I can go in and reject the application, and then knowing that there is nothing that will move forward, and then we can resubmit it at a certain time. So I just kind of wanted to make that clear that we only own this part of it. We only own the InfoHead part. Grants.gov is held by their own organization, and NIH is obviously has EraCommons. So just kind of wanted to bring that up to you guys for those of you who are new, and kind of understand the relationship there. Okay, so let's talk about the world ending on January 25th. So things are changing, and EraCommons IDs are going to be required after January 25th, 2020. Currently, whenever we go to submit a proposal, or whenever you go in and do the validation step in EraCommons, you will see a warning. And after January 25th, that is going to change over to be an error. That is the status as of right now. I'll be interested to see if NIH sticks with that date, the 25th. I have a feeling they will, because there's a bunch of other things that are happening on that date. So I've got a feeling this one's going to hold. So why are they doing that? They're essentially doing that because this allows them to have a more discrete identifier to do conflict of interest and peer review. But really, this is a conflict of interest identifier for them. So what that means is that we're going to expect a lot more EraCommons account requests, because I don't know if you've been noticing, but I've noticed the majority of our proposals have been going in with this warning. And so just to let people know, we do need to have people have Commons IDs. And remember, there's only supposed to be one Commons ID for a PI for their entire career. So if they were, if they were a postdoc, then and they're becoming a PI, they're still going to use that same one. If they were a graduate student and they had an EraCommons account, they're going to still use that same one. So bear that in mind when people are requesting EraCommons, that we will do a search and we may come back to we may come back to you and say this person already has a Commons ID, and we'll talk a little bit about we may ask you what role do you need to sign and so on. Okay, let me just check to see if there's any questions real quick. Natalie, do we have any questions about what I just talked about?
We have a question on the previous topic. I didn't jump in quick enough.
Okay.
Please confirm that the 2-day review window applies only up to the final due date of the application.
Yeah, that's correct. So if you're submitting it the day of the application, let's say it's the 15th, it's due on the 15th, and you're submitting it on the 15th, you've already blown past your 2-day window. It will close when it closes. So if you submitted it, like what my example, on the 20th, if it's due on the 20th, and you submit it on the 15th, you'll have 2 days in there that it will sit and you can review it and withdraw it at that point without any problems. But as soon as it's going to close on that 2 days or the deadline, whichever is closer.
Okay. And then for your current topic, can a report be run to identify CU researchers who did not have a Commons ID? Did I freeze or did Garrett freeze?
I think Garrett is frozen.
Okay,
Yes.
and now I see his screen is blank.
I think the answer is no, that a report can't be run for Commons IDs. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it would be a system outside of the university. So I don't know if that could be run.
Okay. Nope, Garrett, I see you back.
I'm back. Sorry about that. What was the question?
If there's a way to run a list of faculty versus if they have an EraCommons ID. So if there's researchers in our departments or centers that we know that don't have IDs, if there's a report somehow to run that.
And it looks like he froze again.
I think so too. So I thought he's really thinking about this one.
There are also a lot of people with the same names, so I can confirm that we just can't do that, I don't think.
Yes, because we would have to determine that, we would need to be able to run a report in EraCommons, and EraCommons does not know all the UCD personnel who do not have Commons IDs. So there's not a way to do that, and we don't have an internal system that captures EraCommons IDs versus not.
Well, and what we've done in our department is just we have a list of faculty who are active with NIH or coming up, and when we get their ERA set up, I have a list. So that might be a suggestion within your group to just look at everybody that you have and who might submit, and then collect data if they have an EraCommons ID or not.
Sorry, Natalie, I think my internet's going bad there.
That's okay. There is a couple more questions. Do you want me to read them, Garrett? Now that you're not sharing, I can.
Sure.
When requesting a corrections to an NIH submission, can you remind us what change the administrator needs to make in InfoEd on the cover page? Also, do you have to make the same change if you reject an application?
So you would need to make the same change. and it is on the SF424 cover page. There are radio buttons on the top left-hand side, and on the top side of that, it says application, and then the one below it says change or corrected application. You just need to select that radio button and then resave the page.
Does that answer your question, Sophie?
Okay.
Yes, okay. And then is there a report in Gaia to run for EraCommons ID? I'm not sure everybody uses that necessarily. If anybody who uses that system, if you can.
So Natalie, I just checked. I'm the one that wrote that, and there is a report because I just ran one. However, it is, like much of the data in Gaia, very incomplete. So it's better than nothing. It's a starting point. And if we could convince more people to fill out data in Gaia, then it would be there. But I think that it's relying on the investigators to fill in that information.
Kind of like the profiles.
Yeah, so it's perhaps better than nothing.
Yeah, it's a start, like you said. The next question then is regarding the EraCommons usernames. Sometimes we have applications in our department that include international collaborators. Since these collaborators are outside the US, they rarely have Commons usernames. With this new rule, can we no longer include those collaborators on an application? And is there a way for us to get common usernames for those people?
So what, let me just. So you're going to be, for anyone that you're going to be listing as key personnel, you're going to need to have a Commons ID. And so you can, that's not required for other significant contributors. So you're still going to need to have the Commons ID, because remember, this is for their internal process.
Is there something specific that I don't work too much internationally? Can international folks not get EraCommons IDs?
They can.
Okay.
They can. Just sometimes the situation is that depending on that other institution's familiarity with the NIH, they may or may not have some things set up.
Okay.
Other significant contributors do not need to have Commons IDs. It's going to be your key personnel listed on your proposal.
Okay. Andrew, you're best then that we check individually ahead of time and set up accounts as needed. Sounds like around the EraCommon ID. Let me know if there is something else we want to answer for you. And then is the easiest way to find out is just to email the Xenia inbox?
Yes, we get it all the time.
Yep.
And it's the easiest way to like make sure that it's done correctly.
Sorry. Karen likes your beach theme pre-award. Is this an every Thursday occurrence? Or is it just lucky
No, it's
today?
It's just you just happen to get lucky.
Nice. Okay, Andrew, I think we answered that about foreign contributors, collaborators. You answered that, Garrett. Okay. Oh, one more. It will be, Alex is just making a point. It will be important to check on institutions early. The institution will need an EraCommons account before they can create an ID. There is
Sure.
So yeah, that does take quite a bit longer to get set up.
It takes months sometimes. So yeah. So if you especially, I think Alex's point is probably specifically targeted towards international institutions. Most US and most domestic are going to be well into the game.
Yes. Okay. Oh.
Okay, so let's see here. try sharing here and see if my internet holds up. Let's see. All right, so we talked a little bit about this. Okay. Okay, so let's talk now about the changes for NOD 21073. So NIH will require the use of updated format pages. So this is the other support. These are the documents that we're talking about for the rest of the session. So until January 25th, when you submit a GIT, an RPPR, with one less P there, and proposals, the old format will work. So just bear that in mind. And the question was, what do we do between now and then? And really, we're just going to keep moving forward. So we're going to talk about what OGC is going to provide for you guys and what we're going to do from them. Biosketches, key point, biosketches are still limited to 5 pages. In the section A, it's noted that the PI is going to want to give highlights from the last 3 years. And then in the section 5, then there's no more than 5 contributions to science and no more than 4 citations per contribution. Bear that in mind and communicate that out to your departments as much as you possibly can, because we're not going to be able to change a lot of these, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Section B, honors, position honors has been renamed to position scientific appointments and honors. That's just FYI. For non-fellow biosketch, section D is removed. Again, that's a change to look for when you're looking through these on your own. That's a good key indicator that someone's updated their biosketch. For the fellowship, biosketch section D has been updated to remove research support. So one of the questions that came up not too long ago was translation. We don't expect this to be a big deal, but just to let you know, if some of the other support is listed, NIH is accepting Google Translate, all these other machine translated documents, which is pretty generous, I would say, from them, because if you've ever done anything Google Translate, it can be quite funny. It can be hard to read, and for a scientific document, I think they're going to have a really rough time with this, but they are accepting it for other supported documents. So just to let you know. The signature block. So the signature block in there, and this is NIH's words, is there for the key personnel to certify the accuracy of the submitted information. And so that becomes a problem for pre-award, really, because we now can't really edit things. In the past, Eric's gone in, and if there's some changes or if there were some minor mistakes or something like that, we've gone ahead and made some changes to kind of smooth the transition or the submission of the proposal. We'll talk about that in a little bit more, but that's part of the problem that we're running into with this change. Each PI and senior key personnel must electronically sign their respective other support documents. And I'll show you what that looks like, and we'll talk about signatures here in like a second. So after January 25th, 2022, no signature, no submission. That's basically a hard rule there. Incorrect data after January 25th, 22, we cannot change the document because it's been signed. Sometimes people are going to be signing these with electronic signatures and flattening them. And that's fine, that's totally acceptable. But we can't go in and with all good conscience and go in and change someone's other support, even if there's like a typo, because these have been signed. So there is a point here that, remember, when you're submitting things to the NIH, it's going to be an XML file. The XML files can't contain edited forms through grants.gov and then over into EraCommons. So you'll need to make sure that you flatten any of these e-signatures down to just basically a flat PDF. So electronic signatures, and this is NIH's example. So you see over here on the right, it's just got the typed in with their name and the date that they signed it. They're accepting something as straightforward as that. We don't need wet ink signatures on there. We don't need some stuff scanned and that kind of thing. So that makes this process a lot easier. But they're really saying that what they've put in this biosketch or other support, excuse me, is
Here, we're having breaking up again.
Basically, you just need an electronic signature and or the typed name, and we don't need wet signatures, I think is what Garrett was saying.
So the type name is actually okay.
That's their example on NIH, so
That's unusual.
I would highly recommend against that, but I think that because it's their example that, you know.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep dropping off.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, though. Yeah, it's that we don't need wet signatures.
Okay. While we have this little break, there's a few comments in the chat. I don't believe in Section 8 personal statement of the biosketch that there are restrictions on the number of support items. NIH has a definite quantity for all else, but not this that I know of. And I think that's around the pending or the, you know, that last 3 years. Is that what you mean, Andrew? And I don't know of any restriction. Garrett?
Yes, that's right. I don't know. Can you hear me okay, Natalie?
We can.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you know, obviously this is where the section got phased out and those items got moved to the personal statement. And this is the one thing that I don't see any kind of restrictions, you know, like the contributions to science and the publications are very limited. There's a specific quantity, but as far as the number of support items, I'm not aware of any limit. So I thought that was odd.
Yeah, Garrett, have you heard of any restrictions on the number of research projects you put on there?
Now, the NIH documentation does say the past 3 years that they want to highlight, but that's about it. I mean, it's still, you still have the 5-page document limitation.
Right. Obviously, you just got to stay in the 5-page limit, but otherwise, I don't think you're restricted. And it has to be in the 3 years, but there's not a numerical cap on that.
That I've seen either.
Cool.
Question, is pre-award reviewing biosketches currently? And I would add other support documents, and if so, what details?
So we are reviewing, sorry, I don't know which part I dropped off the internet here. We are reviewing these when we do just-in-time submissions, specifically the other support. And you know, we're looking, and I'll talk about that here in a second. Maybe I should just jump down to that slide real quick. So let me just share my screen one more time, and hopefully I want to stay connected this time. So there is a couple things. So the NIH validation, and I'll jump into our section here in just a second. The NIH validation is going to look at whether the biosketch is attached for each and every senior key personnel listed in the application, that they're equal or less than 5 pages, and the biosketch attachment is in PDF, right? We all know that. The calendar months will, currently, this is now OGC, calendar months will be reviewed, and if wrong, we will send an email back to the department or the PI to make changes. So in the future, that's as far as we're going to be able to do because of the signatures. Let's see, so what we're going to do after November 5th is we will, when we're doing a just-in-time, or submission, we will remind about the signatures the format needs to be used, and we will still submit. If your PI is submitting in just in time, including other support prior to January 5th, 2022, but the award has not been issued, you do not need to resubmit an updated form. Okay. And so Eric does a quick cursory review on these. He's very thorough, he's very consistent on his reviews. And so for his other support documents when he's doing JITs. So, but we won't be able to do as much as we used to do or as we currently do. Does that answer the question?
Does that answer your question? Yeah, Ashley.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I was just wondering if in the past, I think, staffing and stuff, I think it was one of these meetings, we discussed that pre-award wasn't really checking too many details in biosketches in terms of research support and those kind of things. So I was just curious what the level of review is now.
For biosketches on proposal reviews, we are not reviewing them.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thanks.
And then Garrett and Eric, if you're looking at another support and it's signed for, say, a routing, and you notice a typo, are you sending those back and letting us know so that we could have them re-reviewed on the faculty side?
I can answer that. So basically, I'll just give a historical answer. We used to review line by line, every single one, check the dates, the amounts, all that stuff. Now they want the amount of the segment, so, and the entire amount, so like direct costs and indirect costs. And it would involve us going into 2 or 3 different systems, which I'm not complaining about, but I don't know if you guys know, we're a little bit busy. So anyway, yeah, we're not going to be reviewing them the same way that we used to because of lack of resources available. So yeah, it's going to be on you a little bit and the PIs to make sure this information is accurate. Once we have those signatures, we will submit the JITs as requested. NIH is not shy about getting back to us if they feel anything is incorrect. And I would say, like, last point is the calendar months, they add up to 12 or they don't, as far as I know anyway. And then if they're over 12, then they're overcommitted and we're gonna get an email back from NIH anyway, so.
Okay.
So we will let the department know when they are overcommitted.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and I think, Natalie, to follow on with that,
Mhm.
sorry, that's
Okay.
all right. To follow on with that, there were some questions in the past about, well, how much, if I've got a 16-year award, how am I going to figure all that out? Do I have to go back and look at all 16 years? And no, that's not what they want on the other support. They should list the total amount of direct and indirect for the current project period. So, if it's a 5-year project period, they want the total amount for that 5 years. If it's just a 2-year award, you're only going to be done with 2 years. So the current award document.
Okay, so it sounds like if we submit the other support, as long as it doesn't equal over 12 calendar months, it's going to go through. And then if it goes through and NIH has an issue with, they don't agree, they'll kick it back and then OGC will let us know. Okay. I think that answers most of the questions.
I have an answer to the subcontract one.
Thank you.
You just put that you're a subcontractor on the other support line, and once you say subcontract, everything goes out the window as far as anybody reviewing anything, because it could be for any amount and any time period, and so they don't review it, to my knowledge.
Thank you. And one tip I found when doing this is if you have a faculty member listed on a grant that's in another department, I have been using NIH Reporter a lot for some information. That has been really helpful tool.
Yeah, NIH Reporter is really helpful. I use it all day long, so it is really useful. So if you haven't started using it, give it a try. You can just type in the 6-digit institute number in there, and boom, pulls up the award. Or you can even type in the PI's last name. It's almost, I would say, better than some of the status functionalities built into EraCommons.
Yeah, they made some improvements, and it's much more user friendly. Another question. Still learning CU procedures. I've routed RPPRs via FormStack. Are JITs routed in similar fashion? Is there a separate FormStack link for this?
So JITs are going to come in. So JITs are going to be come in as requested from the NIH. So again, a just-in-time request is started out at the NIH because the award has gone out and been reviewed, and it receives a fairly favorable score, probably above the pay line. And then the NIH will request the JIT. So then that either will go directly to the PI, most likely, or sometimes we get them too. And then you'll either get it either from us or from the PI. And then you'll begin the process there. And the JIT is into EraCommons and routed to us. Any other thoughts, Eric?
Yeah, you broke up for a second there. So basically the NIH sends us the JIT request, and then we send it to the department and the PI, and then the PI and the department collaborate to get the JIT ready. Then you send it back to us for review and submission, and then we submit.
But I
So
think
it's more...
I think the question was specifically whether they send the notification for that the just-in-time is ready to go through FormStack or through Xenia.
Just to Xenia.
Yes.
To Xenia, yeah. Yeah, so I would say JITs, I can't make that analogy, but yeah, Xenia is going to handle all your JITs.
Thank you. And then just a quick comment about a faculty member can't access his EraCommons account. He's caught up in the mandatory transition to login.gov. His contacts with ERA support haven't been helpful. Can OGC help? He has a JIT pending.
Yeah, contact Xenia. We'll help you out. Absolutely.
All right. That's all the questions.
Okay, so one other thing, let's jump down here to, all right, FormStack, stack of forms. I like that. Anyway, so there's some questions about when to use a FormStack, and we do have a guidance document on when to use a FormStack. And the funny part about it is whenever anyone asks us, should I use a FormStack, we actually just go back to the guidance document and just take a look. So generally speaking, you're going to use FormStack if there is money involved or if it's going to the NIH. So 9 times out of 10, you're almost better off just to run it through FormStack every single time. And again, this is going to be a letter of intent. And so we're using, so what happens is come into, and then from there,
Garrett, you are breaking up a little bit.
I think I'm back. Am I back?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So FormStacks come into a central folder, and then we route them whether they're an RPPR or if there's something that needs to be reviewed by an analyst. And we generally try to clear out that folder once a day. So you're going to get a pretty good response on those kind of things on FormStacks.
One additional comment: if you are if we're a subcontract and our sponsor is just requiring documentation but no signature for the next budget period, we do not need to see it. We only need to see it if we're providing institutional approval.
Okay, any other questions? Nothing new in the chat. Any other questions about these topics?
Anybody have any other questions on other support? You guys can just chime in. You don't have to type it. Okay.
Okay. Well, if something comes up, definitely put it in the chat. One just popped in. Did you see, Carrot?
Yeah. So can we update the status in InfoEd to turn down? That depends on what status the proposal is currently in. If it is in the submitted status, you will not be able to. You'll have to have OGC do it. If it is not in the submitted status, for example, if it, let's say we just submitted it via Proposal Central and we didn't update it, then it's probably going to be in grant pending. And if you get a turn down notice, then you could actually change it, yes. Yeah, I think, I think Andrew's got a good point about the BioSketch changes. The NIH web pages, I hate to say this, but like, go out and look at them. But the NIH web pages FAQs are actually quite good. They really did a nice job thinking through some of those things, and I think are actually better than the notice, which is normally not the case. Okay, and is there one page where we can go to locate all the form stack docs? That's a good question, Carrot. I don't know. I think there is. I can get back to you on that. Make a note. Research Performance Progress Report, RPPR.
And then should the changes in other support include a signature?
I don't know what you mean.
That's that.
Like there's a signature required for each PI's entries. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, when you're entering the changes for each PI or each key personnel, should that section include their signature at the bottom?
Yes. There's a really good example. I think it's a link in the slides, but either way, if you just Google other support format changes 2022, it should come right up and they'll give a very good example of exactly what they're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Garrett and Eric and David, I assume you stayed on till the end of the meeting. So if you have more questions, definitely just put them in the chat and they can answer. Next up, Shane is going to talk to us a little bit about the Certified Research Administration exam.
Oh, thanks, Natalie. I'm going to share my screen real quick. We had talked about a few months ago, I guess, about doing some study groups for the CRA exam. So we're going to do one more information session about the CRA study groups before we get started. And that's going to be next Tuesday on 2 o'clock on July 20th. So if you're interested in attending the session just to find out more about the study groups and what we're proposing, feel free to email me. I can send you the Zoom link for the review or the information session. And just some background about it, we're going to do about 12 sessions starting the week of August 2nd and ending around October 25th. Each session is going to be about 1 hour. Some of them may be just a little bit longer. It looks like we're going to do them probably around 10 a.m. each day. So, probably about Tuesdays or Wednesdays. We haven't finalized the schedule yet, just based on everyone's needs. And just there's no cost to attend. It's free for any university employee that wants to attend. And for the CRA exam, this year the application deadline is October 6th. And the exam window of when you need to take the exam is between November 6th and November 20th. So our little group review sessions will end right before the studies or before the exam actually starts. So if you want to attend the information session, just feel free to email me and I'll send you more information about it. And that's all I have, Natalie.
Okay, that was
I told you it'd be quick.
You did. Any questions for Shane on the CRA? It's very exciting that we're going to have a training program here on the campus. So thank you, Shane, for putting that together. Okay, there are a couple questions in the chat, Garrett. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and move on to the rain updates if you'll answer those or take a look at those. I am going to share my screen now. Okay, so I will move quickly through this. Oh, now it's having problems. Why can't I get it to the full mode? No notes. Okay, sorry, we'll have to deal. I know it's going to be small. My presentation view, there we go. Okay, so just a quick update for rain. One of the things that we had discussed in February, I think, about a RAIN objective was around creating a resources list for research administrators on campus. And so we have started that process. So we started a Teams channel for RAIN, and so now I'm going to share something already differently. In the Teams channel, and hopefully you all got invites, and if you've been added or asked to join the RAIN listserv, I have tried to add you, but if you haven't, please let me know. Can you all see the Teams? Okay, so this is the RAIN Teams channel. And so right now what we have in here is the agendas, PowerPoints, and recordings from these meetings I'll just go quick, just from the last, from 20 and 21. So if you want to go back and look at any of those recordings or any of the slides, you can find it there. And I have this document that's the recordings, and that just has the YouTube links on it. So this resources list is in here. And right now, this is the only resource list, so it's easy to find. And so what we're asking you to do is just go into this document and to identify your areas of expertise. And the goal of this is really to help other folks on campus who may be new to the university, new to research administration. There's always a way to link to other people to ask questions. So one of my most popular questions I get is, do you know anybody who's done a T32? So if you have, please put your name on this list so you can help others with that. The few of us on the steering committee put our information in there already. And so if you can just add areas of knowledge, and right now we don't really have set categories. I think it can be very broad. Like I put science CV in here. This general support is, I put a little helpful note. It's just really general university knowledge, who to contact, processes. I put Ankura, RAIN. As you can see, everybody else filled in where they see their expertise in. So if you can, thank you. I see some people are already doing this. If you can put that in, I think that'd be really helpful and a really good resource as part of RAIN for people coming onto campus. Any questions on that? Let's see, there's one chat. So thank you, Deborah. Real time. Okay, I'm going to stop my share and go back to my slides. So if you could do that, that would be great. We've had talks about having some sort of mentorship, but this might be a better way to connect and share ideas and ask questions. You always, I have this on a later slide, but please go ahead and email the RAIN listserv direct if you have questions. You've seen a lot of job announcements coming out through RAIN. You can go direct to that link, and it's on a later slide. So if you can utilize that, I think this will be a good benefit for the campus. The next update is that the RAIN steering committee has an open position. So hopefully many of you knew or know that Benita Bazemore Cook had left the university, I think in early June. So I know she's not on today, but want to thank her for all the support on the steering committee while she was a member. But we are looking to replace her. So this is a great opportunity. And just here, it's the steering committee, we meet quarterly. It's pretty minimal time commitment. And we ask you to participate and to lead one of these meetings during the year. But once you join, we won't ask you to lead the first meeting after you're selected. So I'm going to send out an email later today about that. Here is my RAIN reminder. It's the listserv again, and then we only have 3 meetings left of 2021. So these folks are who will be leading those meetings. If you have ideas or something you want to present or something some idea, please reach out direct to them. They are putting together the agenda for now. And then we are also planning a September networking event. And that usually coincides with Research Administrators Day. So I have a quick poll for you. I know I'm running out of time. If you can fill in about how to celebrate the Research Administrator Day and have that networking event, we're just trying to gauge a level of comfort with COVID and returning to campus. There's a lot of evolving rules and regulations, but just want to try to get a gauge as to what you might be interested in. And this will be probably towards the end of September. Research Administrators Day is on the 25th, which I think falls on a Saturday. So we'll plan not on a Saturday. All right, I'll give you a few more seconds. Most people have voted. Okay. So it looks like most people would be comfortable getting together outdoors and doing something fun. So look for more information to come on that. Let's see. So thank you for sharing that. And then I just want to do a couple quick NCURA updates. So we're always looking for people to be involved from the Anschutz or Denver campus with NCURA. Just a couple things that are coming up for chances to get involved. There is a National NCURA Professional Development Committee, and it is a 2-year term. that you serve on it. There are 3 subcommittees. There's a publication subcommittee, online programming. So, sorry, publications is around the NCURA magazine, getting articles published for that and online. And then the online programming is if you're a member of NCURA, and I think I've tried to push some of these out too, there's monthly sessions that they put on. So like that Excel how-to session was their online programming. And so if you're on this subcommittee, they help to come up with topics that would be helpful and that the NCURA membership might be interested in. And then there's the traveling workshop and PDC selection. So that is working primarily with selecting who's going to do traveling workshops for NCURA, the faculty who would present on departmental. They have several different topics. And then the application process, this subcommittee actually decides who's going to be on the PDC, the overall for all those subcommittees. So the application for the PDC is coming out. It should be tomorrow, but if not tomorrow, very soon. And so if you're interested, like I said, it'd be great to have our campus represented. National meeting is coming up. I believe the early bird registration for that deadline is coming up soon. And then the PRA, which is the pre-award research administrator, financial research administrator, is going to be next March in New Orleans. And their call for presentations deadline is July 30th. So I encourage you to submit presentations for that. And then we have the local regional NCURA updates. And so we are in the middle of planning for regional meeting 2021. It's going to be in October. It's a virtual meeting and the registration has already gone out. I believe it's $60, no more than $75 if you're not getting into the early bird pricing. So it's a really great opportunity. And we're in the middle of putting together the program now. And so the call for presentations deadline for that is tomorrow. And so I encourage you to submit for that. And we're always looking for volunteers. So we're looking for volunteers to help out with Zoom and moderate for RM 2021. And just a reminder, 2022, we're going to be in Tucson. Will be the chair of the region for 2022. So please reach out to me if you're interested. Like I said, I really want to encourage more Anschutz and Denver folks to be volunteering. So you have an in, just contact me. And then I want to do, I know we are right at time. We'll do one quick more poll about presenting. I'm just very curious what people think about this. And if you answer this, we can say the meeting is over and you can jump off. I just want to thank you. If you answer around, you like presenting, not sure what to present, our program committee for the RM 2021 actually came up with a list of different ideas for presentations. So reach out to me and I can share that. But thank you. Have a good weekend. Have a good day. Thank you, Garrett. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you. Thanks for organizing.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thanks, Carmen.
Good job.
Thanks.
Congrats on being the chair, by the way.
Thanks.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye.